it has to be implemented with fidelity. But there will be some latitude to go above and beyond that district focus, if that's what the building principal needs. But not to the point that he or she sacrifices the district focus. Because we're going to work on those things that work. I heard one guy say that we already know everything that we need to know in terms of improving schools. Our question is, how do we feel about the fact that we haven't done it yet? So if we start doing these things that we know work, and stop doing those things that we're just doing because we've always done them or they're comfortable to us, I think we can get a better result. There's research out there that tells us about 9 high-yield instructional strategies that should be a part of any lesson, and they don't all shut it down. But are they being used with fidelity in the classroom? If they're not, they're going to have to be. Because they're high-yield strategies. They're going to increase student achievement if you use them. It gives them something to latch on to. It scaffolds their learning. So that's not unimportant. We got to implement them in our schools. And they have to be taught from the very level. One of the main things I can do as your superintendent is set structures in place so that you feel the toolbox of teachers. So when they go into that classroom, they got something in their toolbox that they can use to generate more quality learning for their students.
There are 2 questions here that go together, I believe. So I'm going to ask them both, and you can answer them together, combined, or I'll re-ask it if necessary. First of all, how would you go about making sure schools have programs that keep students interested? Followed by a question that's a little more severe. How do you plan to address the school discipline crisis where students are increasingly pushed out of their schools into the criminal justice system? And it speaks to, further on in the question, relying on zero tolerance practices. Can you repeat?
Yes, I got the second part. Give me the first part. I won't tap it first.
How would you go about making sure that schools have programs that keep students interested?
How do we go about having programs that keep students interested? I will say that it's not about the program keeping students interested as much as it's about engaging instruction in the classroom. I'm a big proponent of technology integration. If we have technology in our district, I need an assessment of it. I want to know where it is. I want to know how it's being utilized. I want to know if there are inequities in our schools. Some schools have a lot, some schools have none. I want to know because it's the primary tool for every child's production and consumption of knowledge in this generation. So if we have gaps, we need to start plugging them if that's possible. So technology integration is going to be important. It's not about a particular program, but we have to engage them given what we know about the types of learners they are, more so than it is about the program. So again, I go back to those research-based instructional strategies that we use with children and for students. I think if we start experiencing some success in student achievement, and we start experiencing some success with our teachers, with their ability to deliver a high-quality instructional program, I think some of our discipline problems start to erode. Now, we always look at discipline as this punitive thing. It's this punitive thing. It's time to get rid of these children because they're misbehaving in the classroom. But I'm a big fan of what I like to call root cause analysis. So with that being said, I want to know why he's misbehaving. And if you give me that why, I want to know the why for that why. And I want to know the why for the next why. And after about 5 of those whys, we're going to get down to what the problem is. And in a lot of cases, when we talk about student discipline, that problem is related to instructional effectiveness. I think I said to the community stakeholders today, and I think it's worth repeating, I can go into any school in this school system tomorrow, if you allow me to. And I'll walk in. If you give me about 2 to 3 hours in that building, I'll write down 3 names on one side of a piece of paper, and I'll write down 3 names on the other side. On the right-hand side, I'll give you 3 names, and I would almost be willing to bet, if I were a betting man, that they're in the top 10 teachers in terms of disciplinary referrals that are handed up to central office. To the main office. Then I'll write down these names. And I'll probably tell you that they're in the top 10 least amount of referrals that are handed over to the district office. And you know what I'm looking at when I do that? Instructional effectiveness. That's where I'm looking. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some disciplinary challenges, even with the most effective instructors. And those are some of our more chronic, our more severe behaviors. But we do expel students in Jackson several percentage points higher than their peers around the state. We do expel them at a higher rate. We even expel those special needs students in the IEP program at a higher rate. So with that being said, they come back into school. They've been gone for 5 or 10 days. They're gaps in their learning. What are they going to do when they come back? Further misbehave. They're probably going to further misbehave. They're going to get further behind, and it's going to contribute to that dropout rate. Is there a place for suspension? Suspension, absolutely. But should it be the end-all, be-all? No. It cannot be the end-all, be-all. If we have an alternative school program, and I know we have 3 programs that aren't based schools, if I look at the website correctly, I need to learn about that alternative program. I want to know if it's a true alternative, or if it's another school in the community where students are expected to do the same thing they were expected to do within the base school. The only difference is we got all the bad ones there. Now that's happened in other places I work. It probably doesn't happen here in Jackson, but that's been the case in other places where I work. So if that's correct in Jackson, we got to make sure that the alternative school provides a true alternative. Also, we got those students that are on the edge or on the fence in terms of behavior challenges. We need to look at how can we marry student interest with the curriculum. For example, there's a basic curriculum that's got to be taught. Students have to take end-of-course assessments on these skills, your biology, your U.S. history, your mathematics, your algebra. You have to take those tests, that has to be there. But if we can start building elective programs based on student interest in a CTAE environment, not the old CTAE that some of us remember, but I'm talking about that one that will allow students to walk out of the district with an industry credential or industry certification, and they might not be college ready, but they're ready to go to that job and make $30,000 or $40,000. It's there. In the district I work in, we just opened it up this week on Monday. You can look and Google the New College and Career Academy. I led the design of that facility. And leading the design of that facility, what we have is a program that has industry credential programs. Handling programs for children where they get those base courses at the base school that they have to have. And if I'm interested in welding, I'm coming in the afternoon to do my welding. Prerequisite class I took at my base high school, now in my junior and senior year, I'm taking those high levels. These students are going to walk out with industry credentials. Second of all, we have small business incubation units, meaning that we're teaching them how to incubate their entrepreneurial skills. We not only have girls that are going to be taking cosmetology courses over the course of the next 5 years, it'll probably be one of my, even though I was not the superintendent, it'll probably be one of my legacies in the system, whatever I need. But they're going to be able to not only take a cosmetology course, but they're going to be able to have a model in place in a class that they can take as an elective that shows them how to run a shop in the school. So when they leave, guess what? I may not want to go to Jackson State and pursue a 4-year degree, but I'm ready to open my shop when I leave high school. We got to look at those things because my guess is we're going to improve our graduation rate and we're going to decrease our dropout rate when this program really hits the ground running. I can tell you why I know that's to be true. We've done a 3-year plan for it, and it involves 300 students, 600 students, and 800 students in the 3 years, and then 800 to 1,000 being the max enrollment. First year, over 800 applicants from 3 high schools. Parents and students who want their kids involved. Was it an added expense for the district? Absolutely. But can you afford not to look at things like that when we have a dropout quote crisis going on? So that's
This is about hiring procedure. Will you hire the best candidate for a position and do away with the politics that have destroyed our system?
I will always recommend to the Board of Trustees the best candidate for a position. Period. I will always recommend the best candidate for the position. Period. We're not going to make up a process. We worked on some hiring procedures in our system. I have a long background in human resources, having served as Associate Superintendent for Human Resources and graduate of several human resources institutes. So I know about building a hiring procedure that seeks and finds the best candidates. With that being said, as your superintendent, I only get the right to recommend. My Board of Trustees has to approve, Dr. Burke. You all have to approve that recommendation. So with that being said, I'm going to recommend the best candidate every time because it's about children and their learning. And I'm just not going to do it any other way. My recommendation will be the best candidate for the job. And there's some processes we follow that everyone will have an opportunity to look at. I'm probably going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's not really important. We got to get our website where people can see things that they need to be able to see in order to make decisions about their future in the system. For example, my hiring procedures, they're going to be out there for everybody. You're going to be able to see them. You're going to know what pre-screening looks like. You're going to know what the interview process looks like. Of course, you won't have questions, but you're going to know how you get to that point. So then you'll know how to prepare your resume so that those things speak to us in pre-screening that get you to the table. I mean, that's not unimportant to have that stuff in the public domain for everyone to see. So that's kind of where I am with that.
Please share your philosophy of school management respecting lines of authority.
Respecting lines of authority. I think you're talking about the degree of, I would assume that the person asking the question is talking about the degree of autonomy that a building principal may have versus district direction. Is that where we are?
Take it from there.
Okay.
I'm not going to presuppose.
Okay. Well, I think we're talking about autonomy. And autonomy is not a one-size-fits-all. I think you gain autonomy based on your results. For example, if you're getting phenomenal results for young people, one might say you can dance on your head if you're getting phenomenal results. But what I'm saying is you get greater autonomy if you're getting better results. But if you're not getting results, if you're in a failing status or if you're in an academic watch status, then you probably need a little more direction. So I think we define autonomy based on where a school is on the academic continuum. I think that's important. The other thing I'll say about, even in the midst of autonomy, there has to be some vision set forth from the district. We are a school system, not a system of schools. They sound alike, but they're very different. I think we have to operate as a school system versus a system of schools. A school system will produce better results throughout the system. A system of schools will have pockets of improvement around the school system. And I think that's a very important distinction. So we have to operate as a school system. But given your results, you do develop some autonomy.
Thank you. What is the role of parental responsibility in public education? Parent responsibility.
Parents are responsible for sending us the best kids at their house. I don't think they're leaving the bad in that home. I think we're getting back to parent involvement for instruction, folks. And I'm thinking as long as parents support our schools, if we can get to them when we need them, and I know sometimes we can't, but let's just talk about barriers to success. If we spend all of our time looking at parent involvement being the largest barrier to our success, and if parent involvement doesn't improve, we can't do better, folks, we're going to spin wheels for a long time. Our parents send us the best they have at home. They're not keeping the good ones at home. So given that they're not keeping the good ones at home, we're going to work with what we have. That's why I get real bent out of shape sometimes when people talk about schools need to run more like businesses. School systems, if they follow the business model, then it's better. Well, I heard one writer say that if I'm responsible for making the best blueberry ice cream in the land, and I get a shipment of defective blueberries that come to my plant, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to send those defective blueberries back and I'm going to wait on the next shipment. Well, in school districts, we don't have that opportunity. Parents are sending us what they have to educate and to work with. So with that being said, we got to get out of this mindset that parents got to be more of our instructional partners. If we want them to be instructional partners, create those programs, bring them in and keep beating the bushes and let's keep working on those programs, get in 10, make 10, 20, make 20 points, and keep working in that manner. But that can't always be the focus of our conversation if we will not see the type of improvement that we're looking for. We got to hone our craft as educators. We have to hone our craft as educators.
I know you touched on this in some of your answers to questions already, but it probably doesn't hurt to circle back. What do you see as the greatest challenges facing Jackson Public Schools, and what solutions do you plan to initiate to address? And how will you know if those solutions will deliver success?
There's an immediate challenge, and I'm sure that everyone's a little bit on edge with the immediate challenge related to accreditation. I'm sure a lot of you are here because that's on your mind. And we're going to watch that from the April 26th meeting. We'll watch it from afar. If I'm still a part of this process, or if I've been selected, and we'll see what happens there. I will say that we should be able to pick up the pieces from that. I've seen school districts, haven't been a part of one, but I've seen school systems lose their accreditation. It's a lot easier to get it back than it was to lose it. Somebody had to be working hard to lose it. And so if we get to that point, we're there. But as it relates to getting it back, it's going to be pretty prescriptive. They're going to tell us what has to be done, when it has to be done, who it has to be done by, who it has to be submitted to, and we're going to follow that prescription. And in the quickest time frame available to us, we'll have it back. If it's taken, let's hope that our current administration and what we're doing already speaks to our want and our aggressiveness in terms of improvement, and it's not taken. So that's something that's immediate. The main thing is our results. Our results as a school system. That's the most important problem, I think, to me right now. I won't ever be satisfied if I'm trailing the state. I might break a smile if I get even with the state. But we're going to get past the state. We're going to have to work through the tops of the state. And if we don't believe that, then I need to go back to Covington, and maybe the board needs to look at it on the candidate. We can do it. We can do it. It can be done. I think if we work on the right work, it can be done. So that's the most pressing challenge for me right now. How do we improve it? It's improved in a systematic fashion. I think I've talked about a lot of things we can do to get on the road to improvement. It will not happen overnight. But if we stay the course, keep doing the kinds of things that I know we can do, we will see measurable improvement. How do we measure? No other way. Student performance. Student performance is my ultimate benchmark in terms of how I measure our success or failure. I'll never be satisfied with more than half of our schools having a negative distinction from the state. We just got to get that flip-flop.
How do you plan to work with the teacher unions and professional organizations? And I will remind you, we have 6 minutes left, the last 2 of which will be your closing remarks.
It's my goal to work very, very collaboratively with everyone who is working on the right work in terms of what we're trying to do for young people. I see the teacher unions as an organization that wants to help, based on my limited conversation with them earlier today. They want to be a part of this school system's resurgence. And if that's the case, we'll work closely and we'll work collaboratively together.
There's an emphasis in this that I'll try to emphasize. What plans do you have to specifically address the needs of the district, the size of JPS?
The size of JPS. JPS, 30,000, a little over 30,000 students. Newton County Schools, a little over 19,000 students. I think that they kind of fall in the same category. We talk about another 10,000 students. For some reason, JPS has a lot more schools, 61 versus 23. And I think that's because we built larger schools. That's the best thing that I can find. We built larger schools. But with that being said, what works in a small system. What works in a larger system. But there's no replacement for that large district experience. And I think when you look at 19,000, you're at that level where you can make the same types of improvements for 30,000. So, the size is. I look at the budget. When I came to the district, we had a $158 million budget, and it's dwindled down now to about $130 million, based on budget cuts and that kind of thing over the course of the last 5 years. But in this district, it looks like $205 million. So it's not even another zero. It's just going from the 135 to the 205. So it's the same types of things. What works in one works in the other.
This will probably be the final question. Do you have a high school transformation plan, such as creating smaller learning?
I do not walk in with a plan of action in hand. I do not walk in with a silver bullet that I wave and say, this is going to fix your high school, and this bullet is going to fix your middle school, and I'm an elementary expert, I'm going to fix your elementary school. Just not doing that. I think we got to look very, very closely at what we're doing. Very, very closely at what's working. We do have a high school, one high school that's labeled a successful school. I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to find out why if I manager your superintendent. I want to find out in short order. But once we look at that, there is no silver bullet in terms of a transformation or a turnaround. Can we do something with small learning communities within a high school? Yes. Does it meet our needs? I don't know at this time. So I think we got to look at what we're doing, making sure we improve the instructional effectiveness of all the men and women who stand before young people each and every day, and see where we get going down that road. See that we can get down the road with how do we teach vocabulary. How do we build background knowledge based on careful vocabulary instruction that's based on the research? How do we expose children to those test words every single year so they know those words, know how to use them and what they mean, so we don't say plus in the classroom when the addition is used on the test. So, all of those kinds of things. If we can use some smart practices in our classroom, I think we can see some results. From there, there's some programs that may work, but I don't come in with that program. What I would like to see happen is we develop a model based on effective instruction. And if there's anything that needs to be a springboard from there, we develop it, not our community area.
Thank you. You have right at 2 minutes to make some closing.
Well, it has to be a pleasure here with all of you all. Again, I'm glad to see you coming out on behalf of such an important decision. And I think just your attendance here today shows that you're serious about improvement. I would tell you that you may find a candidate maybe with more experience. You may find a candidate that's more charismatic. I don't know. But you will not find a candidate that will work as tirelessly as I will to improve the results for young people in the school system. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to sell myself. We're going to work on the work. We're going to improve student achievement if I'm fortunate to be a school.
You're going to now have an opportunity to fill out an impression sheet on Dr. Carpenter, and we'll distribute those right away, right now, so that you can fill that out before the next candidate comes in. So, and it's simple. It just shows what, it gives you an opportunity to write. And let me tell you how it's going to be used. You'll get to show on this through your handwriting what you saw that you felt were strengths in Dr. Carpenter's address to your questions, and things that you would describe as not strengths or perhaps weaknesses. Now, we'll get that out to you, and when you finish it, we need to collect them because they're going to be copied for the board members to read. All of them before they'll have the opportunity to do that before they ever make a decision. This is an important part of it for you to give the board feedback. Okay? Let's get these one. I sure will. A graded Camry license HPJ 332 flashers are on.
That's me, thank you.
She didn't have to tell us.
Okay, we gotta get those forms. She's doing it. Let's help her. Let's get all of them.
If you need a pencil or something, raise your hand. Try to get something. Yeah. If you need a pencil, we have some pencils we can get around to. There is a place on it for your name. It says stakeholder name. It's not important that you put your name on it. If you want to put your name on it, you can. But if you want to put parent or teacher or principal, that sort of thing too. We're having more copies running. You know, sometimes we have these meetings, 40 people show up. We're lucky more showed up, we have to run some copies.